Hello, guys, and welcome to Women of Worship. You are tuning in to the very first episode ever, and I am beyond excited to be here. I am starting with my little baby ring light, my little Sharp microphone, and recording on my phone, and honestly, it's great. I'm so ready, and I'm so excited, and I can't wait to see what this brings. Um, so, welcome if you're new here. My name is Valen, and I write a Christian women's blog called Women of Worship. We've been a little on and off with it, but if you go check it out, you can see why. Overall, I'm so excited to be here. I have felt a huge push from the Lord to go ahead and do this recently. So here I am in my little apartment on my couch with my bare walls because I just got here a month ago to Dallas. Um, and yeah, so I kind of just wanted to dive in, let you know a little bit about me and a little bit about things to come, which I'm so excited for, but I will save to the end of the episode to keep you hanging on. Um, but I do have another exciting announcement past this that I cannot wait to talk about. But yeah, so just going straight into it, I was raised in a Christian household. I was so blessed to have God fearing parents. We prayed at every meal. We went to church every Sunday. But the more that I really looked into it, I never really had my own faith. There was never really a baseline standard of like what I believed and where my identity lied. And so obviously whenever I got to college, that caused a little bit of an issue for me because even if my faith wasn't in my parents, it was in my boyfriend at the time in high school where we would go to church together all the time. But if his faith wasn't strong, mine wasn't strong. And I was just super dependent on everyone else for what I believed, who I was, and obviously that caused a lot of emotional turmoil and just so many insecurities. And I just was a person that I was so unproud to be. And so I got to college my freshman year. I was on the cheer team. I was surrounded by partying and drinking and sleeping around and drugs and you name it, it was there. I mean, it was college, no matter how small, no matter how big, those crowds are there and it is so easy to just get completely sucked in and absorbed by them. And so I fell into it and I did it all. And as unproud as I am, it has shaped me into the woman that I aspire to be and I am continuously working towards. And I don't know, we are told that we're so unworthy after we've done these things. And it feels so difficult to crawl out of these pits by yourself. And I kind of had to figure that out on my own. I didn't really have a whole lot of things to help me to get to where I am now. And I just felt like it was way more difficult than it should be. And I didn't really have the correct guidance. And so I really just want to provide that for you. I really want to be able to give you what I did, certain things that helped me, what I'm still consistently going through because Lord, am I so imperfect. Um, but yeah, I just want to be able to be that source for you because I feel like it's really limited, especially for young women, because a lot of these topics in the church are taboo and they're not touched on, they're not talked about enough. It's always like, don't have sex, don't do drugs, don't drink alcohol, don't party. But nobody's like, here's how you can avoid those. Here's why we shouldn't do those. And it's not just the why because it's a sin and it's whatever, but why, like internally, what does that do to you? How does that shift who you are as a woman of God? How does that change people's perspective of being a Christian loving woman? And it's just like we don't really think about all the things that these are impacting. We don't have the people to help guide us and grow us from these places. Whenever we say, finally, we're done, I don't want to live like this anymore, I just want to stop, we're kind of left on our own. I mean, we have books and everything else, but there's not a whole lot of girls that are going through it with us at this time. And so yeah, I just want to be able to provide that and those insights for you. And I really just want to let the Lord speak completely freely through me and do his will for y'all and for y'all's benefit. And so, just going back to my testimony, I was a sophomore in college, I believe. Yeah, I was a sophomore in college. And I was at the gym working out y'all, I was pushing it. I was overweight. I gained that freshman 40, 30, 40. I gained that. And so as soon as I was done cheering, I got in the gym and I got in the gym hard. But I was still making terrible decisions, So one day I went and I was, I've always prayed, but it's only whenever I really needed the Lord or was just really specifically struggling. And so it was never super genuine. It was never a relationship. It was more so just, hey, this is what I need. Check back in when you've done it. Other than that, I'm going to go live my own life freely and sin how I want to. And so I was just squatting my warm up weight, which is like 25s on each side. And I couldn't lift it. I literally failed my very first rep and I just went down on the floor. And I'm just sitting there, bawling my eyes out, you guys, in the middle of the gym. How embarrassing, first off, but what a vulnerable moment for me. And I was like, if I can work this hard on ensuring that I have the hottest body and the prettiest face and like everything about me outside is perfect, but the inside is ugly, then what am I really working for? And then I really thought about it and I was like, what am I looking for? What am I hoping to gain from all of this partying and drinking and whatever? Because we're told you only live once. You're only a young adult once. You only get to have these experiences once. Then you're tied down, married with kids and everything else. And that's just such a negative outlook on our lives because you're right. We are only young adults once. So let's make the biggest impact as young adults as we possibly can for his kingdom and his glory because everyone else is doing the other stuff for us. Why would we want to be like everybody else? And so I went home that night immediately. After failing that rep, I went home. I opened my Bible. I sobbed. I prayed. I screamed. I kicked. I cried. I was angry. And I just didn't know what to do. I literally had no idea where to go. And I was just like, but I know I need to be better. So I started reading these self help books, listening to these podcasts. Seriously, a lot of the wisdom and guidance that I have received have been from Sadie Robertson and Jenny Allen and Lisa Turkhurst and Call Her Holy podcast. So please know that a lot of the wisdom that I have gotten and achieved is from listening to those women and taking in their advice and really taking it a step further and examining it for myself. So if you haven't checked out their stuff, please do so because they are so vital for our development as Christian women in this society in today's day and age. Um, so anyways, I was praying and I was crying and it was, it was a difficult few months for me really. And I just felt like he was so silent and I was like, I'm here, like please take me. Everybody says that they have these huge eye-opening revival experiences whenever they decide to come back to Christ. And I just wasn't having that. I just was not having. I was like, okay, you're telling me I'm a crappy person, but like help me, like help. And he wasn't helping me, and well, he was helping me but in ways that I couldn't see, I couldn't acknowledge, and I couldn't recognize. And so I'm like, well, what the heck do I do now? And so I went to LSU one weekend to visit a friend, and I was partying and I made poor decisions and I went home with a guy and I did all these things I wasn't supposed to do, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to transfer here, how fun, how exciting, but still going home and reading my Bible and everything else. And I was like, oh, this could be a balance. This is fine. Woohoo. And like we all know, you cannot be half and half. You cannot be lukewarm. You cannot have one foot in the world and call yourself a woman of worship. And so regardless, I that was my mindset. I was ready to go. I went home. I applied to LSU immediately. I prayed about it. I cried about it. And then finally one day, I was just like, well, God, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't want to leave this school. I was vice president of a sorority. I knew everybody. I had a group of friends that was super solid. I was never alone. And I was going to this place where I knew one or two people, maybe. And I hadn't gotten my acceptance yet. And I was like, you're telling me I need to change. You're telling me I need to leave this environment and you're not providing me an opportunity. Like I haven't even gotten my acceptance from LSU. Gosh, I was so angry. And so sitting on the porch swing, crying out to him, doing my Bible time, and all of a sudden an email hits my phone. And it was not. LSU. But I go and I look, and from like a week prior was my acceptance to LSU. And I was like, okay, this is your sign. This is what you want me to do. So I ended up leaving everything, just upping and going to LSU the next semester. And I got to LSU, and my faith was still pretty awful. It was pretty terrible. I was walking in obedience of but also like what I wanted to do. I knew I was supposed to be at LSU for his glory, but really the first 6 months that I was there, it was for my own entertainment and my own joy. So I was doing everything I wasn't supposed to again, but maybe possibly even worse. I mean, I got into drugs and like not anything crazy, no addiction, but it just was, it had a hold over me and I couldn't say no. I couldn't deny it. I had major FOMO, which is something we'll talk about later. Um, but I just wanted to have a good time. And finally, at one point, I was dating this guy and I just hit this brick wall. And I was like, this life is so unfulfilling. The guy I was with at the time, not bashing him in any way, shape, or form, but he couldn't see himself marrying me. Any type of commitment really freaked him out. It took him a really long time to make me his girlfriend. I honestly was just settling on a lot of standards that I had set previously for myself for what I wanted in a future husband. And I was like, why is this relationship like not, why can't I find any relationship that is hitting my standards? And it was because I wasn't the kind of woman that the kind of men I wanted were looking for. And that hit me hard. That was one of the most difficult things for me to ever accept was I had these high unattainable standards because men were looking for women that were way better than me, had much better faith, and overall were actively following Christ rather than just sitting and praying every now and then. And I was like, this is it. If I want the future that I have desired, that the Lord desires for me, a change has to be made. Everything cold turkey. I quit everything cold, like rededicated myself to marriage, to wait for marriage, and quit drugs, quit all my addictions, quit vaping, all of that, just completely out the window. 100%. I was all in. And the second that I did that, I cannot tell you how my life blossomed. I was in class one day, and this sweet girl named Alyssa, she said something about her faith, and I was like, I need to talk to her. She has a very big outgoing personality. And I just absolutely adored her. And she invited me to Bethany Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And from there, my faith grew and flourished in a way that I didn't even know was going to be possible for me. I thought I was unsavable, irredeemable, and I was going to be dirty for the rest of my life. Don't get me wrong, I'm still dirty. I got my own issues. The old ones have been replaced with new ones, and we have all of our own normal struggles still going on. But that was something that was huge for me. As soon as I got into the church, I was accepted by the most incredible group of friends that I could have even imagined. I absolutely adore them, and they're still my friends now. They're lifelong, and they grow me in my faith, and they send me Bible verses, and they keep me strong, and they build me up when I'm weak. And that's what community is all about, which is also something we'll talk about later, is having a good God-given community. um, but then I ended up being able to lead a small group. I ended up being able to start this blog because my faith grew exponentially. And the second that I put my trust in the Lord and 100% was like, it is yours. I am done. I am not living this life for me anymore. It's just like I see the world in color, almost, is how it feels. And it's just like, wow, I have, uh, it just, can we just take a moment to just really appreciate everything that the Lord has given us and done in our lives, even if you are in the thick of sleeping around in drugs and whatever else, or even if you're in the middle of, I don't know, a failing relationship, or you have no friends, you're completely isolated. Like, take a moment and be like, wow, look around. Look at what He's provided for us. Even in our lowest of lows, in our dirtiest of dirty moments, He is beautiful, and there is His beauty consistently surrounding us. I can't even put into words the amount of love that I have for the Lord, and seeing everything that He has done in my life just completely turned me around and completely just love me like nobody ever has in my life. The unconditional kind of love that he provides is insane. And I want to aspire to be that every single day. I want to show his love to everybody every single day because of how well he loves me. And I fail. I fall short, of course, always. I have a little gossip session here and there. I will accidentally say something I'm not supposed to. But it's the fact that I am being refined. And he sees me as worthy. And he is using me for his kingdom. And all of my dirtiness and all of my sin and all of Satan's evil has been turned into God's glory. And I'm not going to say that it's been easy. And it's gotten so much harder the more that I walk, because I don't remember where I heard this or read this, but once I was told that when you level up your faith, Satan levels up his attacks. And I will tell you wholeheartedly, that is the most accurate thing that I have ever heard in my life. Because the more I follow and the more faithful that I am, the worse my battles get and the more difficult they get. But because I am saved by grace, I'm able to handle them in so much of a better way and with so much more joy, so much more patience, so much more kindness and goodness. And honestly, just who doesn't want to live a peaceful, harmonious life with the Lord? Because, that's what we're here for. And another thing to take into account is that, like, we're not living this life for us. Everything that we have while we are here is simply a benefit for us, because even if we're here and we have nothing and we're living on the street, we should praise him anyways, because this is his earth and we were put here to glorify him regardless of what we do. And that's what this podcast is all about. Well, podcast, video cast, whatever I end up doing with this, I'm not sure yet. Anyways, and so as I go on this journey of creating this, that's a little bit of my story and how I've gotten to where I'm at. And it's not, completely, totally in depth, but there's a lot more to it. However, as I've moved to Dallas, I have really realized that there's a lot of stuff that isn't covered by people our age going through the same exact thing, whether it's single, dating, in a relationship, engaged, married. Now, I can't speak much on the engaged, married part, but I will do my darndest. I have some good podcasts I can probably refer you to, and some other people that have much more experience than I do in that area. But yeah, so with all of that excitement, I really want to dive into being a single girl, living alone, young adult, and being content and happy where you are, because it's really hard to kind of just sit and wait and not be like, oh, what if that's my husband? Oh, what about that one? What about this one? Like, and we tend to do that a lot. I tend to do that. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'll walk into church and I'm like, oh, he's so cute. God, is he the one? And I'm like, girl, get your act together. Like, come on. You'll know. You'll know. And obviously it's not my time. And that's totally okay and totally fine. But a lot of the times with the single aspect, we are told, okay, well, you can't be like searching for it, but you also can't just stay at home and do nothing. And it's just like, well, where's the line? What do I do? How do I put this into practice? Because we're given a lot of advice, but we're not given a lot of advice on how to actually do it, how to do it well and successfully and love the Lord to our full potential during this process. An additional thing that I really want to talk about is finding your own faith on your own. Outside of what everyone else believes, outside of what everyone else is telling you, outside of anything, being able to build a firm, strong foundation completely based off of your own personal relationship with the Lord, and how to get that relationship strengthened and in a depth where we need to be, especially in the society we live in. It is so broken. And I probably will have a lot of things to say that you don't agree with and you don't like, and that's totally fine. But I'm happy to have you here, and I hope that what I do say you take and you really apply it to your life and your situation. Another thing that I want to talk about is dating in general, just dating around, finding, going on dates and weeding out the correct ones and everything else. It's not something that I have the utmost experience in, but I have gotten a lot of wisdom from some really incredible women in my life in that area. Um, and I definitely do know how to date correctly. It's just a little bit more difficult than we would normally think. Again, back to the whole you're supposed to sit and wait, but then you also have to put yourself out there. But then at the same time, it's just such a difficult balance to achieve while maintaining your relationship with the Lord. And then one thing that I've noticed that really isn't addressed, like ever, is being in a relationship, a dating relationship, not engaged, not dating around, not single, but a dating relationship with you and your boyfriend, how to make that successful, difficult trials you may walk through, how to keep God at the center, how to make sure you're not prioritizing your boyfriend over your relationship with the Lord. How much submission is too much submission and how much is too little? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to exemplify a godly wife when I'm not in the role to be a wife and that I'm not supposed to give all of that yet? So that's something I really, really, really want to dive into as well, because that's literally not talked about anywhere I can find. And I have searched high and low. Whenever I was dating my previous boyfriend, I was like, I need something for dating, something for dating. And it was all like, well, when you're looking for a relationship or when you're single or when you're engaged or married. And I was like, no, like I'm in a dating relationship. Tell me how to make this successful with my boyfriend, which naturally I probably wasn't finding things for a reason because we were not meant for each other. Um, but yeah, that's just not addressed enough, I feel. And then additionally, I just want to talk about life. Being a girl, the struggles I'm walking through, I want to be so real with you guys. I don't want to edit my podcast at all. I don't want to cut anything out. So when you hear me go blah, 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 because I messed up a word or messed up a verse, or you see me open up my Bible to find a verse, because I don't know them all by heart. I just don't. I'm so imperfect. And so I just want to walk through everyday life. Being a young adult woman is so difficult, and it just really feels like we don't have a strong community. But in reality, everybody that I've met and everybody that I've talked to that's in the same exact stage of life as me is going through the same things and walking through the same things. And the more that this podcast goes, I do plan to bring in some of my friends and bring in some other people and have conversation back and forth and provide you guys with some really good wisdom from more people than just me. So some will be one-on-one, some will be with people. It's just going to go back and forth, and figure out what's going on. Um, and then I just want to be your friend. I want to walk through this with you guys and let you know, like, I'm not putting myself on a pedestal. I'm not above you in any way, shape, or form. I do not know all. I know very little. And it's so important to keep in mind that at 22, 25, 28, 29, 37, like, we are infants in our faith. Look at the elders in the church. We are so young. We know nothing. We know nothing. And it's okay to know nothing. We are forming our baby steps before we take our big leaps. And that's totally fine. It's so important to realize that we are just babies. No matter where you're at in your faith, we're just kids. I mean, we aren't supposed to be light years ahead in our faith. And I think that's really important to acknowledge. It's like, well, I feel like I should be here. No, no, you're right where you should be. This is our foundation for the rest of our lives. This is the foundation we're going to carry into our future families and our future relationships and pour into our children and pour into our younger generations. You are setting your foundation right now. And your foundation is going to be a little crumbled and a little broken because we don't know what we're doing and we're just young. We have so much time to learn so much. And it's okay to be imperfect right now. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to feel like your life is spiraling out of control and you don't know what to do. Run to Jesus, my girl. Run to Jesus. That is the best advice I can give you. So, little preface on my life currently and where I'm at. I moved to Dallas about, I guess I'd say 2 months ago, immediately after graduating from LSU. I didn't move back home with my parents. I had no plan. I actually didn't even have a job whenever I signed my lease. It was totally and completely in God's hands. And I didn't even get a for sure yes from God. I'm a firm believer that you don't always have to have a boombox at your window type moment of God screaming, yes, this is it for you. Because if you are in tune with his character enough, you will be able to know that he will be faithful wherever you go because your relationship is so strong and you know that he will always provide. So I came here without having a screaming yes, without really knowing exactly what to do. And it's been a journey. It has been a journey. So I moved here with my, or well, not with my, but for my boyfriend at the time. After about a month of being here, we realized that we just were incompatible. We both needed and deserved great things and great people, but we just weren't those great things and those great people for each other in God's eyes. And that's totally okay. We ended on such great terms. Things are fantastic. We both have felt nothing but peace since we split. But it rocked my world. And at the same time, I was dealing with some family issues. I'm not going to completely disclose those because of privacy for other parties involved, not mine. But we've been having some stuff going on, and so that happened. And then a week later, my boyfriend that I literally swore God was like, "This is your husband. This is him. Absolutely, 100%, no doubt about it. Fight for him until you can't anymore." And then he broke up with me. And I was like, what? Like, but God, you told me. You told me to be here. You told me this was my husband. And the more that I've thought about it, first off, I've been in so much peace since we broke up, which is such a blessing. And I've been able to see the Lord in everything else that I do. But my whole world blew up. Everything I knew blew up. My entire future that I thought God had planned for me exploded totally and completely. And I've never been more thankful because I've never been so peaceful and my emotions have never been so in control. And my relationship with God has never been so deep. Um, it really propelled me forward to do the things that I need to do. I mean, look at what I'm doing right now. I honestly probably wouldn't have started this if my life was how it was just a couple weeks ago. So um, yeah, so my whole world just totally blew up. And here I am in Dallas, living alone, trying to make friends, serving at Fellowship Church, and really just taking it one step at a time because I think that that is so important. Matthew 6:34, I believe, it says, "Do not be anxious for tomorrow has enough troubles of its own." And that's what I live by. You have to take it one step at a time. And that's been really difficult for me to be like, well, I thought I was going to be getting married. I thought I was going to be getting engaged. I thought he was the one. I don't know what to do. I'm completely alone. Like, it's been the most terrifying experience of my life. And I have my ups and my downs. Sometimes I'll be sitting in the car and I'm like, oh, this is a little sad because normally I would call whoever or talk to this person or whatever. And it's been a journey of isolation, but it has been phenomenal so far. And I know that God brought me this person specifically to place me in Dallas, to put me here and to get me here. And just because I heard this on, I think the Call Her Holy podcast, just because it didn't work out doesn't mean you didn't hear God's voice. And that is absolutely incredible. I really dove into that whenever I first heard that. And it's so important to really analyze that when you hear God's voice, you automatically create this plan for your life. And you automatically are like, this is how it should be. This is what it should look like. This is exactly how it's going to go because I heard you. You told me yes, 100%. I have no doubts. But how ignorant of us to be like, yep, this is what you said. I'm going to take it and run with it. Like, oh my goodness. That's not, just because he told you something doesn't mean that was his plan. Sometimes we just need to hear things to get us out the door. I know with like little kids, sometimes you have to be like, okay, we're going to the park just to get them to go to the doctor. Look, sorry, I know some of you out there are like, I don't want to lie to my kids. You got to do what you got to do sometimes, okay? And so sometimes God has to tell us that little thing just to get us out the door, just to get us to where He needs us so we can completely shake our world, completely rip down every expectation we had and build us new. in a new place. Regardless of that's moving or your faith or your relationships or your friendships, sometimes he has to put us in this complete space of isolation for us to reach our full potential for what he has in his mind for us. Because honestly, his plan is far greater than anything we can ever imagine, far greater than anything we can even fathom for ourselves. And it's probably 99.9% of the time never going to work out the way that you had pictured in your head. Because that's just not how God works. Because I don't remember what verse it is, but his thoughts are higher, his thoughts are greater, his plans are greater than ours. He thinks in ways that our minds aren't even capable of comprehending. Our brains can't even go to the areas of what God has planned for us. And I think that is so important to remember and to realize. And so that's what I'm doing. I have felt a really, really big push to start a video series and a podcast. And so here I am. I have felt more need to post on my blog. So here I am. I also just, I can't even express the amount of things that have continued to go right since I have been here. And I've been able to get this incredible mentor. I've been able to begin this amazing church. I have gotten such an amazing community of strong, Christian loving girls. My money struggles, even my financial troubles, literally resolved like that. And so, yeah, I just kind of wanted to set the basis for what this is all going to be and what I plan to do with this, and let you get to know a little bit about me, a little bit about my story, a little bit about where I stand and what I believe. And there's so much more to address, and I could probably go on for hours and hours and hours, but we've already been on for a little bit. Um, so yeah, I'm so excited to see where this takes us, and I'm so excited for the next episode, and don't even know what I'm going to talk about yet, but we will see. I'm so glad that you tuned in. I'm so thankful that you were here. And really quick, I did say that I have one more announcement before I go, and this is a big one. People have been asking me for years, and I have reluctantly told the Lord no over and over and over again, which, by the way, never a good idea. Would never recommend. Don't do it, okay? Because he's going to get his way eventually. Even if that means tearing down everything you had, he's going to get his way. And so it has been made abundantly clear to me that in addition to this video and podcast series, I am supposed to be writing a book. And so over the time span of however long it takes me, not quite sure, I have ideas. I'm just waiting on him to speak through me. But there is a book becoming available at some point in time. Don't even have a title. Not even sure what all it's going to completely take in. But I will tell you that it is going to align with this podcast, and it is going to be about being a young adult woman in a society full of brokenness and emptiness, and completely fulfilling your purpose as a God-fearing woman and building you up to set a strong foundation for your future life and your future faith, and just acting out of pure obedience. So I'm super excited. I will keep you guys updated as the process goes along. But there it is. I am writing a book, and I'm so excited, and I can't wait to see what the Lord does with it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. It's been absolutely amazing being able to share my story and just feel like I'm having a conversation with you. I really want it to feel like I'm just there with you. We're having a cup of coffee, and we're just talking like girls. And so I'm so thankful to be here. And I'm so thankful that the Lord has provided for me up to this point. I cannot wait to see what the Lord does with all of this, but it's in his hands, and I just want this to be used for his glory and his kingdom overall. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.